Should I take a job in corporate or startup in Africa? If you're considering these two options, this video is just for you. We'll start by definition. Corporates are defined as well-established with very clear processes. Sometimes they can be very bureaucratic organizations that are focused on productivity and making profits. Startups, by definition, are creative, collaborative, fast-paced, very small, and they're focusing on growth. So to begin with, we look at hiring when you're applying for that job. Corporates tend to have a very well-defined process. They usually have a team in place who are helping you go through that process. Someone will approach you, and usually during the interviewing process, you as an interviewee needs to answer questions in a specific way. Hiring is kind of chaotic. There is no usually process or department with hiring. I find those startups tend to be a little bit more mindful when it comes to hiring. They're more intentional around who they're bringing on board and very deliberate in getting the right fit and the right culture. The next point, and the most important one, and usually the most asked about, is around compensation. Corporates they can pay you above the market rate because they are really looking for the best talent to come into their organization. So usually the compensation will be a little bit above the market rate. And there's also really good benefits that they can offer. If you're looking at healthcare, if you're looking at, life cover, if you're looking for pension, if you're looking for benefits, if you're looking for bonuses, corporates tend to be able to offer this. And usually when they're advertising, there is a ceiling and a salary band that comes with the role that you are applying for. This is a tricky one because there can be some startups who pay pretty well. It depends on the stage of growth that they are in. Some can pay pretty well and some can pay very terribly. Again, just very generalized, depends on the stage of growth that they are in. Startups also offer opportunities for equity. But I think just a disclaimer, if you are being offered equity, just make sure you have a base salary to sort out your base needs, food, shelter, clothing. And also there's an opportunity to negotiate if you want to be paid in a different currency. That's also an option that's on the table when you're looking at startups. In corporates, you have a very clear job description. You stick to what is in your JD and really don't ever diverge out of that. And it's very clear. Sometimes they have very clear working hours. They'll tell you work from this time to this time. And the role is on paper what it is, very clearly defined. Do you know wearing many different hats? That is the startup world. If you love wearing many different hats, if you're very diverse, if you love to learn about different departments and happy to get involved in this is generally the vibe around the role in startups. And that's just making sure if something needs to be done and you can do it, roll up your sleeves and get it done. So there's not very clear definition of what your role is, and that can generally change. Let's be honest, the corporates tend to have a lot of bureaucracy and red tape, which is very important, especially for a large organization with so many people. You need structures in place. There's going to be a lot of hierarchy and making sure that information is being passed to the right person in the right way to make sure that the work is being done. The downside of bureaucracy and large corporates that sometimes office politics and just a lot of noise comes with a job. But in large corporates and in corporates, be prepared for the bureaucracy to be there. Startups don't tend to have a lot of bureaucracy. If you make a decision to do something, you can go pretty quickly. But from my experience, that's not the case in all startups. But generally, the DNA of many startups is just the ability to move things and move ideas from idea to like execution in a very, very fast paced. So yeah, that red tape, that bureaucracy doesn't quite exist in startups, which is amazing. They call it a corporate ladder in corporate for a reason. You usually have a very clear career path, career goal, you know what you need to do, how long it will take you there. And usually if you follow, and if your organization has, like corporate organizations have clear career plans, career growth is steady and you're climbing that ladder incrementally, which is very good. They also offer opportunities for learning, opportunities for growing. If you feel like, hey, I need to improve in this area, that will help me take me to the next stage. Just like in the corporate space where we've talked about like the corporate ladder, here it's like, I call it the corporate elevator, or yeah, it can be pretty quick if you're in the right startup at the right time where they're going through hypergrowth. You're going to have the ability to learn a lot. And I always say when you go into a startup, be a sponge. Like learn as much as you can. You have that opportunity, and that is actually your opportunity for career growth, for learning. Because if you're in a startup when they're going through hypergrowth, again, that is something that, you know, that's a badge of honor because you've been able to pick up a lot of skills. We know the economy. The economy is tough. We're always thinking of a stable job. You don't come in and the organization is not stable. And that's where corporate always like takes the win. Corporates are very stable. They've been think of Safaricom. Safaricom has been a very stable organization for a very long time. Safaricom is not gonna go down under like tomorrow. And also with the stability comes, like, it looks good on your resume to have worked in some of these big corporates. Recruiters will be sliding in your DM, you know, it will look like, oh wow, you were part of one of these really large corporates, and yeah, it really looks good. Startups tend to be less stable, and that's obvious because they're relying on investors or grants or funds to keep their business going. They usually don't have really great product market fit. They're trying to figure out where their business will add value. So stability is less more on the startup phase. And I always like to, I believe there's a big correlation between stability and the problem that the startup is trying to solve. So it's very important for you to understand the problem space and validate that this is a problem and I'm willing to come on board, because it does help with getting that stability. All that said and done, I personally love working at a startup. I love the flexibility that it offers. I love that I'm solving, you know, real problems in Africa. I love the autonomy. I love everything around the startup space, and I'm interested. What is your options? What are the pros and cons? Did I miss something? Please make sure to let me know in the comment section, and don't forget to comment, share, and subscribe. Until next time, Kwaheri.